Our story today is about the death of a small town newspaper. It's called Fish Wrap. It was founded in 1877 by William Heiser in my hometown, Mendocino, California. He started newspapers in 4 other local towns as well. When he wasn't running multiple newspapers, he was building roads. One of them is Comanche Road to Ukiah. The other is Highway 20 to Willits. This is him. His son took over the family business when William died. We all knew him as Augie. Here he is in his office on Ukiah Street. The Heisers were smart enough to own the property where they worked. Call it job security. This is the newspaper they published in Mendocino, the Mendocino Beacon. It died in 2000. That's when it became Fish Wrap. Here's a clipping from 1970. That's my cartoon at the top. The Hilltop Volcano was our high school newspaper. Fish Wrap put an end to that. And so began a whole new era. In 2000, it joined another fish wrap operation in Fort Bragg. It went under the name Fort Bragg Advocate News. Everybody knew it was fish wrap. We're going to look at the folks who turned our local newspapers into fish wrap. We'll call them the fishmongers. The biggest fishmonger of all was Kate Lee. We're going to look at her backstory when the Mendocino Beacon was still a newspaper. This is Kate Lee as an art gallery owner. The little old lady is Dorr Bothwell. Kate and Dorr had something in common. They rented. Bothwell was good at promoting herself as a successful artist. Kate saw Dorr as a real catch. So we'll take a look at Dorr Bothwell to see what kind of catch she was. Dorr was 86 years old when Kate started her gallery, and she had lots of unsold work. Bothwell just oozed credibility. She looked like an artist who was really going somewhere, with artwork that actually sold. Most of her work was silkscreen prints, also known as serigraphs. I've tracked 55 individual sales of Dorr Bothwell's silkscreen prints since 1993. This is a scatter chart of those sales. MSRP stands for Manufacturer's Suggested Retail Price. That's what galleries sold Dorr's work for in 1995. $100. That's the MSRP for Dorr's silkscreen prints when she started making them in 1960. It's the black line. CPI adjusted is what inflation makes that price today. It's the red line. To keep up with inflation, the prints that Dorr sold for $100 in 1960 would need to sell for $1,000 today. That's just to keep up with inflation. The 2025 average is what Dorr's silkscreen prints are selling for today. It's the green line. It's about $150. So, adjusting for inflation, the value of Dorr Bothwell's silkscreen prints is actually going down. That would have been a problem for Kate Lee. The orange trend line suggests that Dorr Bothwell's silkscreen prints were overpriced. By a lot. Check out the R value in the upper left-hand corner. It measures the slope of the trend line. Nothing to write home about. Kate Lee had no idea what she was in for. This isn't the chart of a successful artist at all. It's the chart of a renter. Dorr Bothwell made originals too, paintings and collages, so we'll take a look at those. I tracked the sale prices of 60 of them. Here they are. Dorr started making originals in 1940. The black line is the MSRP. It's $250. And here's the adjustment for inflation. Watch the red line. That makes it $2,300 with inflation. Now let's see what Dorr's originals actually sell for. Watch the green line. Half that amount, just a little over $1,000. You can see what Kate was up against. The orange trend line doesn't look much better. That goes for Dorr Bothwell or Kate Lee. No improvement in the R value. The overall picture is terrible. It's the chart of a renter. If you're looking for fish, you'll need one of these, a fish finder. Mendocino County keeps good records. That includes property owners. They're open to the public. No restrictions on property searches. Everything's on the internet. When we search for Dorr Bothwell, here's the result. No results found. Confirmation that Dorr Bothwell was a renter. The inspiration for Kate's art gallery was an artist named Mike Smith. He had a show at a local gallery in 1986 where 16 paintings sold before the show even opened. The MSRP was $400. Here's Mike with some of his work. You can see how Kate would have been inspired by a show selling out so quickly, especially at $400 a pop. The work that sold was originals. I've tracked Mike Smith's originals too. Here's a chart for his work. Not so hot. Mike has a store and an online gallery. I'm not sure about Mike's brick and mortar operation, but his online traffic is only worth about $27 a month. So Kate Lee got a real job, turning the Mendocino Beacon into fish wrap at the Fort Bragg Advocate-News. That's Kate Lee on the right with her new boss on the left, Sharon DeMorrow. Here's Kate Lee's biggest customer, Charlene McAllister, president of the local hospital. This is a photo of Charlene, looking like a reasonable human being. It's a disguise, you'll see. McAllister was involved with another nonprofit at the time. That was MRB Research, Inc. It died in 2014. Here's the death certificate for that organization. That's Charlene's signature at the bottom. 2010 was a big year for MRB Research. Here's a filing for that year. Charlene was the secretary and Ron LeValley was the treasurer. She described him as a life partner, whatever that is. Now we'll take a look at Ron LeValley. Since he was partnered up with Charlene McAllister, I guess you could say he was partnered up with Kate Lee too. Thick as thieves. Here's his mugshot from 2012 and the date of his arrest, February 27, 2012. Details of LeValley's arrest hit the news almost everywhere right away. One exception was Kate Lee's fish wrap. The Columbian is 2 states from here. MRB Research was implicated in LeValley's arrest. So was Charlene McAllister's son. He was arrested too. Here's the affidavit that supported those arrests. It shows that part of the embezzled $900,000 had been laundered through MRB Research, where Charlene McAllister was secretary. It appeared in the Eureka Times-Standard, but not in Kate Lee's fish wrap. 4 months after the arrests, Kate Lee's fish wrap ran a public service announcement to raise money for Ron LeValley and Sean McAllister. It said nothing about why that money was being raised. LeValley was convicted for his role in the embezzlement scheme. That was on May 20th, 2014. The first newspaper to report that conviction was the North Coast Journal. It's in Humboldt County. Charlene McAllister served on the board of the Mendocino Coast Healthcare District from 1998 until 2006. It's the only hospital serving the Mendocino Coast. The hospital's CEO was having trouble with McAllister, so he hired Delta One Partners to conduct a site visit assessment. That was on September 6, 2005. The assessment backed the hospital's CEO and reported that the status quo was a slow and painful death. It also reported that hospital management didn't understand financial statements. That would have included McAllister, who was president at the time. After McAllister left the hospital board, she joined the Hospital Foundations Board. That was in 2007. She's been there ever since. In 2009, the Hospital Foundation published audited financial statements with an accounting error. The size of that error was $249,638. I shit you not. Almost $250,000 in one accounting error. The Hospital Foundation promoted a fundraising event called Wine Song in Kate Lee's Fish Wrap. They did that in 2013. Here's a photo of one such promotion. Fishy finances continued at the Hospital Foundation. The annual filing for 2013 was kept from the Hospital Foundation's governing board. The same thing happened in 2014. By 2015, the local hospital was bankrupt. The Mendocino Coast was gripped by fear over such a loss. KQED published this article. In 2021, McAllister was honored by a nursing award named after her. The award was invented by McAllister's Hospital Foundation. It was publicized by Kate Lee's Fish Wrap. In 2023, more accounting errors appeared in the financial statements of Charlene McAllister's Hospital Foundation. The amount of those errors was $56,380. McAllister was Vice President of Administration at the time. So the accountant bailed and never signed the financial statements where those errors appeared. In July of this year, local health care was threatened again. This time, it was over federal budget cuts to Medicaid. Kate Lee doesn't have many friends. One of them is Andarren Arvala. Arvala is a real whack job. I took this photo after discovering that she'd secretly hired a locksmith to pick the locks to my home and give her a key. People like Arvala generate lots of frightening stories. None of those stories ever found their way into Kate Lee's Fish Wrap. One of them appeared in the Anderson Valley Advertiser. That was on January 10, 2015. When a reporter named Mitch Clogg asked Kate Lee if she was personally acquainted with Arvala, Lee denied it. Clogg reported that Kate Lee had lied to him about being friends with Arvala. He also found that Lee had declined to run unfavorable stories about Arvala in her fish wrap. Clogg believed that Arvala was dangerous. In 2018, I published a story about Arvala titled The Vermilions. That story detailed 4 separate restraining orders against Arvala and a criminal conviction for battery on a female neighbor. Kate Lee later reported that in her fish wrap, but only after misidentifying Arvala. Every fisherman knows about bottom feeders, and so does Kate Lee. Shortly before February 6, 2001, Kate Lee turned the Mendocino Beacon into fish wrap and took it to Fort Bragg. Adios, Mendocino. 7 months later, she filed for divorce with her husband, Kevin Fletcher. Adios, marriage. In 2012, she stopped news coverage of proceedings at the local courthouse. That was on October 11th. Adios, court report. 9 years later, Kate Lee's fish wrap was taken out of Fort Bragg. That was on June 23, 2021. Adios, Fort Bragg. Bottom feeding took a bite out of Kate Lee's readership. Here's a donut chart showing a readership breakdown of 12 leading online newspapers that serve Mendocino County. The top 6 account for 99% of that readership. The bottom 6 account for 1% of that readership. That's where Kate Lee's fish wrap is. The top 6 are fearless. That group is led by SFGate, KQED, and the Press Democrat. The Colombian, Red-Headed Black Belt, and Eureka Time Standard aren't far behind. There's nothing particularly gutsy about the bottom six, but here they are. Kate Lee's Fish Wrap isn't dead last, but it's not far away. The Mendocino Beacon's monthly traffic is valued at less than $350 these days. Fishermen love to brag about their fishing prowess. So does Kate Lee. She calls her Fish Wrap an award-winning newspaper on Facebook. Kate Lee's Fish Wrap started using YouTube. That was in 2007. She posted a whopping 8 videos there. The newest one is 12 years old. That's great for a Scotch whiskey, but not so great for a newspaper. Kate Lee's Fish Wrap brought home 7 awards. That was in 2006. She got them from the California Newspaper Publishers Association. Here's their website. They've got a YouTube channel too. It shows 23 videos. Their newest one was posted 6 years ago. Their website gets a little traffic. It's worth $29 a month. Yeah. Kate Lee's Fish Wrap is on Amazon, so let's see how it's doing there. It was released there in 2017, but it has no reviews. What kind of award-winning newspaper is that? Some fishermen don't need to brag. Some catch trophies. Here's my trophy tail. And here's my fishing tackle. It's the Pirateer game. I won a Mensa award with it. Mensa has a website too. Here it is. The Mensa website gets a little traffic. It's worth about $6,700 a month. Here's one review. Tom Bronlick called it excellent. Here's another. Richard Berg called it fast, furious, and vicious. And another. Campaign Magazine called it absolutely superb. And another. Gameplay called it a pure delight. And another. All-time best beer and pretzel games called it wonderful. And another. Gamers Alliance called it a game for all ages. And another. The Game Report liked the instructions. And another. The San Francisco Chronicle called it artfully conceived and executed. Reviews like these didn't fall out of the sky. I worked for them. Every last one. The San Francisco Chronicle has a website. Here it is. Their traffic is worth a lot. $180,000 a month. Compare that with Kate Lee's Fish Wrap at $350 a month. Since 2018, I've tracked over 490 individual sales of used Pirateer games on eBay. Here they are. The MSRP for new copies was $20 back in 1995. I'm estimating the cost for used copies at half that amount. Watch the black line. That's $10. Now we're going to make an adjustment for inflation. Watch the red line. It's $21. Now for the current average. Watch the green line. It's $27. Now check out the orange trend line. It's actually going somewhere. And I'm not even dead yet. There's nothing spectacular about the R value, but that's a lot of individual sales. I'm really proud of this chart. I've got 3 fishing lessons for Kate Lee. By failing to prepare, you are prepared to fail. Wise words from Ben Franklin. Kate Lee never prepared for the e-edition on Amazon. If she'd have taken it seriously, the Mendocino Beacon might have lived. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. Thank you, Vince Lombardi. Kate Lee quit on her marriage by filing for divorce, and she quit on her business by failing to see that artists like Dorr Bothwell could never support anything. Newspapers should have no friends. Right on, Joseph Pulitzer. If Kate Lee had paid attention to this, she'd have run a background check on Dorr Bothwell and treated her like a renter. She'd have looked a little closer at Charlene McAllister and seen through her disguise. She would have also kept her distance from Andarren Arvala and reported her misconduct. Kate Lee had bigger fish to fry. One of them was me. This story appeared 3 times in Kate Lee's Fish Wrap. It's about me. It's also about getting my head examined and getting a diagnosis. Kate Lee's Fish Wrap reported that I suffered from multiple personality disorders. That was done by Dr. Murray Zucker. He's a licensed medical doctor. This is his testimony. Dr. Zucker swore that my condition was off the charts. 2 other licensed therapists testified about my condition. One was Kate Larson, the other was John Podboy. These are the transcripts of their testimony. Kate Larson swore that I didn't suffer from multiple personality disorders. Dr. Podboy swore that Dr. Zucker's diagnosis was a hatchet job. Both testimonies appear in a transcript of the trial that got reported in Kate Lee's Fish Wrap. Something that Kate Lee never read. But let's assume that Dr. Zucker's diagnosis was accurate and that I actually suffer from multiple personality disorders, one of which is off the charts. How does Kate Lee explain the Mensa Award, the San Francisco Chronicle Review, and all those sales? I can explain Kate Lee's work in 2 words: fish wrap. Thanks for watching.